23rd of October 2024.
Excuse me, it's sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks a bit. Oh, someone's looking for the report. Is that all right? Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to this meeting of the Waverley Local Planning Panel, 23rd of October 2024. My name is David Ryan and I'm the State Appointed Chair of the panel. With me on the panel today, Stuart McDonald and Kate Bartlett as the expert panel members and Claire Edwards as the local representative on the panel. Before we commence, the panel respectfully acknowledges our Indigenous heritage and recognises the ongoing Aboriginal traditional custodianship of the land which forms this local government area. There are no apologies today. In relation to declarations of interest, prior to this meeting, all panel members completed declarations of interest forms for items on today's agenda. I declare that I have no interest in any items on the agenda. I will now call upon each of the panel members to make any declaration of interest. Claire?
Conflicts of interest.
Stuart?
Nothing to declare, Mr. Chair.
Kate?
Just a non-pecuniary interest for item 1. I have a client who is working in close proximity to the site.
Thanks, Kate. Procedures for this meeting. We will now commence the public hearing component of the meeting. I will introduce each item in the order listed in the meeting agenda and will then call each person who's registered to speak on that item. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to make a presentation, which will be identified by me as when your time is nearing completion. I do have discretion to allow a short extension if I consider it appropriate. The applicant will be provided an opportunity to address the panel to respond to any matters raised by objectors. Panel members may ask questions at the end of each presentation. After all items are completed, I will then close the public part of the meeting and the panel will deliberate on all the items on the agenda. The minutes of the meeting will then be made publicly available on Council's website within a few days of the meeting. Now we'll commence the going through the items. First item is DA 306/2021, 35 to 37 Hall Street, Bondi Beach. Kate will now exit the meeting because of her declaration of interest. I have no registered speakers against the application. I do have the representative on behalf of the applicant registered, Mr. Lee Cosnetta, who is a planner. If Mr. Cosnetta, do you wish to present or are you just here to answer any questions?
Thank you, panel chair. Effectively here to answer any questions. I prepared a short note just to thank the assessment officers and to confirm that we've reviewed the assessment report and note that it's for conditional approval. There are some new conditions attached in relation to stormwater, which have been reviewed by consultants and agreed. Acknowledge that there's a height breach at the rear of this site that's been dealt with well in the assessment report. And with only one public submission, I was here to ensure I was available for questions for them if they were here and also for the panel if you have any.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions, Mr. Cosnett?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Well, thank you for your attendance, Mr. Cosnett. Now move to item 2. It's DA 373/2023D in relation to 14 and 15.
Want to wait for Ms. Bartlett?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we'll just wait for panelists to come back. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, almost started with that. Yeah, so item 2, units 14, 15, 232 and 234 Campbell Parade, Bondi Beach, modification of an existing application for replacement of approved steel roof with concrete and amended reduced level to amalgamate the units. I have no one registered to speak for or against this item. So we will move to item 3. DA 289 224 5/9 Beach Road, Bondi Beach. Alterations and additions to Unit 5 with enlarged addition to the 3rd floor, amendments to strata subdivision to allow Unit 5 exclusive use of the 3rd floor addition and construction of a new fence. I have no one registered to speak against the item. I do have the representative on behalf of the applicant, Hugh Halliwell. So Halliwell, do you wish to make a presentation or are you just here to answer questions?
Thank you, panel chair. I'm here to just respond to any questions or comments the panel might have today, but just confirm we have the applicant and myself have reviewed the report and draft conditions prepared by council, and thank council for their comprehensive assessment. Obviously, it's a challenging site with respect to building height and FSR, so obviously the proposal does seek to vary both the FSR and building height that applies to the site, notwithstanding it's not inconsistent with similar residential flat buildings in the immediate vicinity of the site. So in saying that, we don't have anything further to add beyond what's been covered off in council's report.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Halliwell. Any questions, Mr. Halliwell?
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing from me.
Thank you, Mr. Halliwell.
Thank you.
Move to item 4. DA 164 224 28 Watkins Street, Bondi. Alterations and additions to attached 2-story terrace dwelling, including rear extension at ground floor and first floors, new attic level with front and rear dormer windows and landscape works. I have 2 registered objectors to this application. I'll firstly call on Nicholas Condilis. Could you just announce yourself and you have 3 minutes to make a presentation to the panel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Yes, we live in 26 Watkins, which is next door. We've put in a 1-page submission. I trust that the panel has a copy of that document.
Yes, we received that.
All I wish to say is just in relation to the first matter, that is the extent of the first floor extension. We wouldn't object to that extension going out up to the kitchen perimeter. The objections only thereafter, the proposals to go further and go onto the bathroom, and that's really our concern, because that creates a bit more overhang. So that's all I wish to add, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Condilis. Any questions of Mr. Condilis?
No, thanks.
No.
Thank you very much, Mr. Condilis. I also have Belinda Nicolau registered to speak. Nicolau, are you there? Could you announce yourself, please? You have 3 minutes.
I think she's on mute.
I think you're on mute, Ms. Nicolau.
Inviting me to
Yeah.
letting me speak. Yep. Look, I'm number 30. We've submitted 2 sizes.
Sorry, Mr. Nicolau, your connection isn't very good. You're cutting in and out a little bit. There's probably not a lot you can do about that, but just be aware that we're missing little bits.
I'll just see if I can change the speed. This is about as good as I can get. I'm very sorry.
Oh, that's okay. We can hear you now.
Okay. And I'm actually I submitted a second email yesterday, and I just wanted to check to see whether the panel has had a moment to read my second submission. If not, I can. That was just the purpose of me today.
Yes, I've read it. Has everyone had a chance to read it?
Okay,
Well,
and
The panel's been briefed on your second submission.
terrific. And there is just one I would like to point out is that I feel that the drawings are a little bit consistent, because in some drawings it looks like they've put number 26 and 30, the length of the buildings to be slightly longer, the 28, and that actually is not a true indication of the length of our properties. So I just wanted to point out that it seems that there's some inconsistencies in the drawings, which would then lean to their advantage. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thanks very much, Ms. Nicola. Any
Okay.
questions, Ms. Nicola?
No, but it
No.
might be worth asking the applicant to respond to that statement in terms of the accuracy of the drawings for the architect if they're there.
Yes, we don't have anyone registered on behalf of the architect or the applicant. Is anyone from the architect or the applicant available online? It appears not, I'm afraid, but we'll certainly take that into consideration, and we'll be in our deliberations. We'll ask the council staff for some confirmation on that. So thank you very much.
We're also available if you need to do a site visit just to have a look.
Thank you for that offer.
Okay, thank you.
We'll now move to item 5, BA 425 of 2024, number 93, Hardy Street, Dover Heights. Reduce the size of unauthorised roof terrace and modify its location, and seek consent for the use of the unauthorised planter box on to the roof of a dwelling house. I have no one registered in objection to this item, but I do have 2 representatives of the applicant, Daniel Barber and Danny Jalaby. I'm sorry about that. Would you announce yourselves, and if you wish to make a presentation or just to answer questions?
Morning, panel members and chair. I'm here, Daniel Barber, the consultant town planner. Just like to briefly discuss the proposal, and also available to answer any questions you have.
Yes.
So just this is a bit of an unusual application that it's there was a roof terrace approved at the site that was about 19.5 square meters in size. The builder, as an authorised works, built a roof cover that went with stairs to the rooftop terrace. That has subsequently been deleted, and that was the subject to a compliance order. But what has happened is that the location of the roof terrace, it's 20 square meters, so it's effectively the same size and compliant with the DCP. There's just been a slight alteration to the location of the roof terrace, and there's also within the height of the roof, so with it below the parapet height, there's some landscaping, but it's the carpet landscaping that doesn't produce any height. It's like low rise landscaping that kind of falls off the edge of the building. What's happened is, because it's an authorised works, we've lodged a building information certificate, which is a separate application, and this is a development application just purely seeking approval for the use. What's happened is the approved house was 2 stories in height with the basement, but because we're doing a DA to seek approval for the use, so even though the roof terrace is already approved in that location, it's slightly amended, so council wanted a DA for the use because it was amended. Now we've prepared a 4.6 for abundant caution, because now the basement is ground level existing. So technically speaking, it looks like the building's non-compliant with the height standard. However, it's just as a result of lodging a DA now, but the original house itself was under the height limit. So I just want to mention that. And also, because we're only seeking approval for the use, not the actual works, which is done through the BIC, it's also another thing. For abundant caution, we thought we'd do the 4.6, but it may not be necessary. In terms of impacts to neighbours, there was originally concern with the unauthorised works. There was view loss as a result of the roof cover, but that has subsequently been deleted. That's no longer on the site. So this application just seeks approval for the alteration of the balcony. And that's it from me.
Thank you. Does Mr. Chalabi wish to add anything to that? No. Sounds not. Okay, so thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
We'll move to item 6, DA 130 of 2024, units 3 and 4 at 46 Allens Parade, Bondi Junction. I have no one registered to speak in objection to the application. I do have Russell Dunn registered on behalf of the applicant. Mr. Dunn, do you wish to present or just answer questions? You're on mute.
Better? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the panel. My clients would obviously be delighted if the panel chose to approve the application, but alternatively, it would not seem to be appropriate for the panel to refuse it for reasons which may not be known to the panel. And the reason is that the development proposal presented to the panel in the planner's report is not the proposal finally lodged for approval by my clients. The final development proposal is not the one dated 19th of April, which will be attached to the planner's report. It was lodged on the 27th of June. It was discussed with the planners and the management in August for assessment. It does not propose any additional floor space. The original building built in 1930 was before the Act, and it was well over the floor space which would now be permissible. We were initially proposing some small amount of floor space, but amended drawings were put forward which removed all of that floor space. So in removing that floor space, making the dormers smaller, we took out basically one of the council officer's main concerns is that the clause 4.6 variation might fail because there was some environmental impact. The shading onto one bedroom window was reduced and the floor space was eliminated. So I've asked the council officers why they have submitted the incorrect assessment, incorrect drawings and assessed a different scheme, but I haven't received an explanation. The history basically is that on 19th of June, as I said, the officers said they couldn't approve the 4.6 variation. Extra drawings were lodged on 27th of June. A couple of extra documents were asked for, an amended clause 4.6 variation, amended shadow diagrams. They were provided on the 13th of August. So it seems to me that the only proper course of action would be for the panel to decline the council's request to make a decision, return the matter to the council and ask them to assess the correct development proposal. My clients' basically point of view is that the property owners have a right to decide what they apply for. It may tick all the boxes. It may be a folly, but it is ultimately up to them to decide what they want to apply for. And my clients would like their development proposal assessed, not this one. So that's really all I have to say at this point.
Yeah.
Happy
Thank
to
you,
answer
Mr.
questions.
Dunn. Any questions, Mr. Dunn?
Yep, I do.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Dunn, have you read the council's assessment report of the application?
Yes.
There is an explanation as to why the council officers didn't accept those 13th of August plans. Have you read that?
Can't recall that.
So in the report on page 346, well, it's 346 of the document I have, but there is an explanation as to why the council didn't accept the amendments that you put forward. I'm not.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I'm just bringing that to your attention. I'm not commenting whether that was a good or bad decision, but there is an explanation as to why they proceeded the way they did.
Right. Well, perhaps in that case, perhaps I could ask if the panel consider what's written on that page and whether or not it's adequate. Yeah. I don't recall reading any persuasive reason when I read the report. Yeah, so I guess
And
I'll leave it to the panel.
notwithstanding, you're asking us to look at those more recent drawings.
Most definitely, yes.
Yeah.
It's a better scheme, less impact, and as far as I understand, there are no grounds for concern over it. In terms of a DCP, it doesn't shade a living room window, so the shading is not really an issue, and the floor space is eliminated. And my clients are happy to make that concession.
Understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Dunn?
Nothing further
No.
from me.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
Thank you.
We'll now move to item 7. DA 106 of 2024, relation to 9 42 to 44 McPherson Street, Bronte. Alterations and additions to Unit 9 within an existing shop top housing development. I have no one registered to speak on this item. I'll move to item 8. DA 431 of 2024, relation to 24 and 26 Nancy Street, North Bondi. Demolition of the existing semi-detached dwellings and construction of new 2-storey semi-detached dwellings with single carports, boundary adjustment of the existing Torrens title lot and associated works. I have no one registered in objection to this item. I do have 2 representatives on behalf of the applicant who've registered to speak, Jane McMillan and Peter Pilarco. I'm sorry, I can't read the writing there. If one or other of you would just identify yourself and please make your presentation.
Thank you. My name is Jane McMillan. I'm the consultant town planner for the applicant. Peter represents the applicant Logico Homes. We'd just like to thank council for the assessment of the application and the recommendation for approval. Particularly, I'd like to thank Edwina for her help and assistance because this application had to be withdrawn due to an amendment that had to be made to the LEP regarding floor space ratio for semi-detached dwellings. So anyway, I just want to say thank you to Edwina for her assistance throughout the process. We did, however, want to request some amendments to the conditions of consent. Some of the conditions seem a little bit onerous and more suitable for a large development, and they will cost the landowners quite a lot of money. And we did put a submission, and I just wondered, had the panel had the chance to see that submission on the conditions we'd like to request modification to?
We have received that and we've had a short briefing from council staff, but so don't feel you need to go through it in detail, but if there's anything that you do wish to highlight, by all means do.
Yes, just the one thing was we do have a balcony, one rear. There's only a balcony for one of the units, not both of them. So we were mindful of minimizing bulk and scale, and it's on the northern side of the common dividing wall. So our request was that there's a proposal in the conditions of consent to reduce the depth from 2 meters to 1.5, but it makes it a bit hard to, it's not as usable if it's only 1.5 meters. So we just felt if council is willing to approve the balcony, could we keep it to the 2 meters? As it's an open structure and on the northern side, there won't be any overshadowing impacts, obviously, because it's behind the common dividing wall. And we just feel the bulk is not that significant being an open structure. So we just like ask if the panel could consider that. And the other conditions are, one of them again relates to these are at condition 2. Sorry, both of these relate to condition 2. And one of them is just they're requesting a reduction in the length of the common dividing wall between the dwellings. We would like to leave that, it's currently 2.52 meters. Council's requesting 1.5. We were wondering if we could meet in the middle at 2 meters, just so you could have privacy for the full length of the balcony between to give privacy for the balcony. The other conditions relate, there's one request about fees there, if we could, regarding an additional fee council's requesting. With that regard, because there are a lot of time delays, the costs of the application or development have gone up a lot, and we have actually paid 1.5 times the fees by having to withdraw and relodge. So we're just asking if council could consider that. And the other conditions, condition 11, council's asked for hoarding, but that's not commonly done for, as far as we're aware, for a smaller scale development. Normally it's just the site fencing. So again, that's quite a lot of expense for hoarding. We're not really sure why that condition's there, as it's not normally applied to this scale of development. And there is a condition 13 regarding excavation, shoring and pile construction. But again, we're not doing any deep excavation. It's only a maximum of 300 mil of excavation. So we're just requesting the deletion of that condition. And council in condition 16 requesting a swept path analysis. We don't have any problem with that, but we just wondered if it could be done by a qualified engineer rather than a traffic engineering consultant, as the development will not generate any traffic. So most of those conditions just relate to, we just felt they were a little bit onerous, and we were asking if the panel could look at that, and the balcony issue as well, and the length of the dividing wall. So that's basically a summary of what we were requesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll certainly consider that request. Does Peter the Arctic wish to add anything?
No, I think Jane made a very good summary of the requests that we have. The only one that stood out for me was the other one was the height of the dividing wall. Council's requested the height to be reduced to 1.8 meters from the balcony floor level. Our current design shows it coming right to the top of the roof, to the ridge. The only concern we had there was if there was any fire separation issues that may need to be considered. If council requests that be reduced, there will be a gap in between the two dwellings. And from our experience and understandings that needs to go to the roof for a fire separation aspect. But other than that, Jane summarised everything quite well. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. In our brief with council, that matter of fire safety was considered, but obviously you'll need to get your own advice from that on your from your certifier. But we are aware of that issue. Any questions of the applicant's representative? Well, thank you both for attending.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you, panel. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll now move to item 9, PA 325-224. And it's 688 Beach Road, Bondi Beach. Alterations and additions to Unit 6 within existing residential flat building. I have no one registered to speak against this item. I have 3 representatives of the applicant, Mr. Ali Gauschat, Siobhan O'Toole and Ken Powell. Whichever of you wish to speak, if you could announce yourself and make your presentation, please.
Certainly. Hello, thank you. My name's Siobhan O'Toole. I'm the applicant. And I really want to thank the opportunity of the panel and for the town planners for their comprehensive report. A little bit of background was we actually, we're just private owners who live in this property, and we bought off the plan in 2018 and council approved that property at the existing height. However, the functionality and usability of the upper floor was greatly compromised due to an unexpected loss of about 2 square metres of usable space due to a lift shaft overrun, which was really due to water issues in the basement. And that actually protrudes 1.3 metres into the room. And what that's had as a major impact on that top floor is that you actually can't close the door to the main room. You can't access any natural ventilation without being over 6'2". And you have to have the volume and access to natural light has actually been really greatly impacted, where window 80 is actually 44% smaller than what was on the original approved plans. And so the overall impact of the room has actually been impacted. And I guess what we're looking at is we've just requested a modest rear-facing office to this to the site. And especially when compared with what's been approved with regards to item 3, which is number 9 Beach Road, it is a very modest component. We're within side of the SFR, and we actually have the office actually is only going to be overseeing trees and the outlook, which you can see from the photos that council has provided in the report. And we actually do have considerable privacy frosting built into the design. And whilst I appreciate the measurement of the height of the building has changed, and I must admit, not being a planner or not being in the planning world, I don't quite understand it, but we are within the FSR, and there is really only minor shadowing, which impacts a car park and a laundry. So we've actually checked with those areas, and it's not hitting any walls or any light access, solar access to any of the major buildings or any of the adjoining properties. And I also understand that no objections were raised. We have really made every effort to revise the plan. We have had considerable cost in doing this, in the fact that we submitted the original DA 2 years ago, and that was refused due to the FSR and setbacks. And we just want to reiterate that the property is actually set back further than other balconies on the lot. And I just wanted to summarize by saying that it's really, this office is just for personal use. It's not for an entertainment space, not like lot 9 of Beach Road, which exceeds the FSR. It exceeds the height and has greater privacy considerations. And it also seems to obliterate the solar access on the buildings. And so I just really empathetically request the planning panel to consider consistent rulings, given the modest application that we've made, and the fact that I understand the height of the building is a problem, but the reality is it's the height of the existing building, and we are not exceeding that envelope. And I think Ellie can address any of the other further concerns or questions.
Thank you, Siobhan. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great.
If you could just announce yourself, please.
Thanks. My name is Ellie Gescheit, the urban planner for the project. Good morning, Chair and panel members. The proposal has been significantly reduced in size since the refused DA from 20 square metres to now 8 square metres. Unfortunately, this compromise hasn't been taken on board by Council's planning staff. Following the refusal of the previous DA, we actually consulted the assessing officer, Jose Carano, who reviewed the amended design and actually recommended we submit a design with a compliant FSR. We followed her advice, although Council's assessment report appears to still be stuck on the overshadowing issue. While there's no specific definition of environmental amenity under Council's LEP or DCP, it is generally understood to relate to visual and acoustic privacy, shadowing, landscaping, views, and a pleasant outlook. Moreover, it is important to remember that the amenity is essentially a balance of all of these factors when taken together. And Council's focus shouldn't really be given to one aspect of amenity over the other. In relation to visual privacy, a combination of design measures is proposed, including highlight windows. There are no east-facing windows, and suitable setbacks are provided to ensure existing impacts on privacy for the neighbouring properties is not increased as a result of the proposal and the associated building height variation. With regards to views, there are no public or private view impacts by the proposal and the associated height variation. In relation to shadowing, the design ensures solar access can generally be maintained to the side and rear properties. The actual shadow impact is not as a result of an excess in FSR because the design complies with the FSR. It is purely due to the continuation of the height variation by some 5.7 metres. The additional shadowing proposed is very limited, as demonstrated in the shadow diagrams. The design also does not impact the landscape character of the street, as the works are isolated to the rear with no change to existing landscaping. I would also like to point out that in a recent court case I was involved with for a project in Dover Heights that varied both FSR and building height, council's senior staff member admitted to me that they were hamstrung by the restrictive objectives that requires amenity to be retained. Using this same justification as I've given you now for this application for amenity in the clause 4.6 variation request that I prepared for that particular application, an agreement was made with council and that DA was actually approved. Overall, we disagree with council's recommendation to refuse this very small 8 square metre study again, and we would like the panel to please reconsider and approve this DA. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is Ken Powell wishing to speak or have been covered?
Yes, I would like to speak briefly, please. Thank you very much for the time to speak and to support. So just following on from Ellie's outline of the amenity issues, I just want to address the reasons for refusal that are listed in the report. And the first one, there's 5 or 6 of them. The first one is the height, which there's no question we do contravene the height control, so that is certainly without question. The floor space ratio is noted as being that we exceed it in the reasons for refusal. However, in the table of summary of the development, it is noted that we do comply with the FSR control. In fact, we're marginally underneath the control. So item 1B, floor space ratio for reason for refusal, would seem to be completely incorrect and there's no reason to refuse it. Item 2, which is about the design excellence, and it's addressing that the addition is not suitable for the location and doesn't take into account the amenity and the bulk and the form and of the location, and the adjoining buildings. So in this case, we're at the rear of an existing building, as Ellie described. It's an 8 square metre addition extruding, or not even extruding, the same form of the existing upper level of the building. So it's a very modest little addition, which is hardly altering the height, doesn't alter the height, the massing, the control of the existing building. And so it would seem to be a bit overreaching to sort of say that the land is not suitable for this type of development when we've got an 8 square metre addition to an already existing apartment building. The third item is sort of similar lines about the massing and the bulk, and really we do have the upper floor of the building is set back from the southern elevation, and the 8 square metre addition does reduce that setback, but the building is stepped back significantly from the upper level, from the lower levels back to the top floor. And I don't think the 8 square metres is going to make a significant difference to the overall massing of the building. The item 4, the reason 4 is that is unsuitable to accommodate proposed development. It's already a residential flat building with 6 apartments. So I don't understand how the planner could possibly say that it is unsuitable for the proposed development. And number 5, the application is contrary to public submissions. However, there were no public submissions. So again, I don't understand how that can be a reason for refusal. And then number 6 is in the relation to the public interest. And the public interest, surely we're not adversely impacting any of the adjoining properties. It's not visible from the public places. It's at the rear of the building, and it doesn't cause adverse amenity impacts on the adjoining properties. So I'm not quite sure, again, how it cannot be in the interest of public interest when we're actually improving the amenity of the existing apartment building, existing apartment, without adversely affecting the other the adjoining properties. And then the issue, which was to do with the height, was the overshadowing.
Mr. Powell, if you could, your 3 minutes is up. Could you start winding up, please?
Yes, sure. Okay. I'll quickly go to a matter which was earlier on, which Siobhan noted was earlier on the agenda, which is for another application in Beach Road, which was approved today or is recommended for approval. And the FSR control was a breach. There was a breach of 290% for the FSR. It's a rooftop addition of 40 square meters to an existing building. It was the rooftop, the FSR exceeds by 290%. We actually comply with the FSR. The height is a 75% exceed. Now, the height in both cases.
Mr. Powell, it's best if you just restrict yourself to the application we're dealing with, not another application, where each application has to be assessed independently.
Exactly.
And if you could start concluding, please.
Okay, I agree. So the issue is about consistency, right? Consistency of the assessment process. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you all. Does any panel member have a question of the applicant?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you. To whoever is best placed to answer it. Just regarding the overshadowing, can you confirm your understanding of the impacts or the location of the overshadowing on the properties at 86 and 84? What is the shadow actually hitting? Is it part of the landscaped area or paved area?
Okay, so so I'll answer the question for you. I'm the architect for the project. So
thank you.
There is, I was going to use some photos in the report but in short, the one with 86, the shadow there's photos in the report that show that there's a substantial tree that will mean that the shadow will essentially will be obstructed by that existing tree. If the tree wasn't there, it would fall into the backyard of that property, into the rear space. And then with the one with number 84 for later in the afternoon, there's in the rear yard of that property, there's a laundry and a garbage area, and it's falling in the vicinity of that location.
Okay.
So the outbuilding, there's an outbuilding which is a laundry, and behind it there's a garbage area.
Thank you. Nothing further from me. Thank you.
Nothing from me. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you all for your presentations. They'll certainly be taken into consideration when we determine the matter.
Thank you for your time.
I'll now move to item 10, DA 295/2024, number 18 and 2 to 4 Knots Avenue, Bondi Beach. Enclosure of existing rear balcony facing private common courtyard areas, associated demolition, new windows, internal and external finishes. I have no one registered to speak either for or against this item. So we'll move to item 11, which is the same building, a different property, DA 296 of 2024. Number 13 of 2 to 4 Knots Avenue, Bondi Beach. Enclosure of existing rear balcony facing private courtyard, common courtyard areas, including associated demolition, new windows, internal and external finishes. Once again, there is no one registered to speak on this item. So that concludes all of the items on today's agenda. As indicated previously, the panel will now retire to a private session to deliberate and determine these applications, and the panel's determinations will be posted on the council's website over the next few days. So thank you everyone for your participation today. As indicated, all written and verbal submissions will be considered by the panel in making our determinations. So thank you all, and I'll now close.